So in the following video, you're gonna get a sneak peek inside one of our weekly calls in Club Closer, where we interview one of our students, Jordan, who went from doing relatively well for himself in car sales, where he was struggling for time, didn't have time to go to the gym, didn't have time to do anything he enjoyed, and he was just making money for the sake of it, to transitioning into high ticket closing, making absolute killing, and he's moving to Barcelona next month to work fully remotely. Now, there is a lot of value in this call because inside Club Closer, we believe that you can learn from me, you can learn from the other coaches who are arguably a lot further along than you are, but it's also really valuable to learn from those that are only a few months ahead of you, a few extra steps ahead of where you're at. You can see what you can achieve in such a short period of time if you really apply yourself. And that's why we think it's really important to share these stories and to get our students to learn from each other and not just ourselves. And that's exactly what you're gonna get a look at now. And you're gonna see an example of one of our weekly calls we run. So I hope you enjoy it.
You in Spain?
No, God no, I can't be in Spain this week, boys. Not after they beat England. Yeah, Jordan, I think maybe what we'll do is, as I said, like I'll ask you a few questions myself, sort of make sure everyone's sort of up to speed with where you're at when you joined and everything, and then we can just throw it to the floor and anyone can ask you any questions they want. Why don't you start then with sharing what you were doing before you joined Club Closer, what your setup was like, what your situation was?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I've spoke to the vast majority of the people in here. There's probably a few of you who have never seen me before. You've just seen me typing in the chat thinking this guy never shuts up. Honestly, stop messaging. And I don't blame you, but yeah, before I joined Club Closer, I was selling cars for 3 years, coming up for 4, and I just hated it. I was making good money. I was in a position that a lot of people would be like, oh, wow, you've made it. But for me, it was ridiculous. It was too many hours. I didn't see my mates. I didn't see my girlfriend, my family, anything. But I was making good money. So I was looking for something where I could continue to make good money, but I didn't have to sacrifice my entire life, basically. So I came across Marcus, Club Closer, said, what the hell, this seems incredible. Selling online. I love sales. Let me see if this will work for me. Jumped on a call, got in and just dove straight in, basically. So before I started Club Closer, just selling cars, sold windows for a little bit, and yeah, just sales.
But what's crazy as well is like you were doing relatively well with car sales as well. You're making very good money for car sales, right?
Yeah, I was making anywhere between 8 to 10K, like GBP as well, in car sales. So I was doing pretty well, yeah.
So what was the main motivation then to be like, okay, I want to switch? And obviously, like you all have take somewhat of a leap and change directions here.
Just time, to be honest, because it's all well and good making a ton of money, but if you don't have any time to spend it, it's kind of pointless. Like I was making all this money, but I had no time to spend it. I wasn't going out with my mates. I wasn't seeing my missus like at all. I wasn't doing anything. And it was kind of like, what is the point in going to work every day making all this money if I can't do anything with it? So for me, it was just time. I was sacrificing all my time for money, which isn't very good.
Yeah. I guess I want to fast forward to where you're at now, and I'm going to let you blow your own trumpet for a minute here, so we can get like where you were at, where you are now, and then obviously we can go through the whole process of sort of
Yes.
what allowed you to get there.
Yeah, so where I'm at now is I'm working for net revenue. It's even be the biggest thing in Club Closer right now. Obviously doing pretty well for them on 2 offers, working with Mr. Andrew Tate and then a B2B one as well. And doing pretty well. This month I'm on track for, I should finish on about 7 or 8K, which is less than I made last month, but new company, new offers. So a good start for sure. So yeah, I'm just loving it. I only work like 4 or 5, maybe 6 hours a day at most. Compared to what I was working before, it's a huge difference. I have all my morning to myself, all my evenings as well when I want to take them. So life's just so much better for me. I'm going to move to Spain next week, well, next month, sorry. So I cannot complain in the slightest.
What are you doing with that free time now? Genuinely curious.
Boxing, going to the gym, just living life, just doing whatever I want to do, to be honest.
Girlfriend's happy with you?
Nah, I think she was looking forward to seeing me more, but she's realized I might have made a mistake.
Too much time.
Yeah, too much time sometimes. But yeah, she's much happier. Everyone around me is much happier. They see me a lot more, so nobody's complaining.
So if you're relating to Jordan's story at all and you want to have the same success as him, I really recommend you click the link below this video and check out our website at Club Closer, where we can help you go from learning sales, landing a remote sales job and scaling to a six-figure income a year in 90 days or less, guaranteed. You know, whether you work a traditional sales job, you have a big sales background, or you've got no sales background whatsoever, at Club Closer, we can help you. So click that video below if you're interested and get speaking with the team.
And how long have you been in Club Closer? What's sort of the progression been in that sense?
I joined in the middle of February this year, and I quit my
Yeah,
job.
it's what, about 5 months then?
5 months, and I quit my job at the end of April. So, or no, the end of May. No, I quit at the start of May. Start of May, I left my job.
Okay. So then let's go back and from the start, like obviously you joined Club Closer. What what do you think allowed you to have sort of success with it from the start? Like, what were you doing when you first got stuck in, and when you first started? What were the key defining things you were doing that allowed you to obviously be in the position you're in now with it?
Just doing everything I can. I think the most important thing when you join, especially for all the new people in here, is if you're serious about doing this and going full time into closing, why aren't you doing as many role plays as you possibly can? Like, there's definitely time in the evenings where you can do more role plays. I was coming home from work and I'd be doing role plays till like the last person would reply to my message. I just keep doing role plays as long as I could, and then even if it meant sleeping a bit less, it meant I was getting closer to what I wanted to do. So it's just making that sacrifice in the short term to allow you to have the long term that you want to have, because that's the most important thing. So it's just doing everything you possibly can, watching content, whether it's Club Closer, whether it's going on YouTube, watching Matt Ryder, watching Bill Walsh, whatever it is. Just whatever you can do to get better, just do that and do that consistently, and eventually you'll make it. And that's kind of it.
So that sucks though, right? Like, it's not the most enjoyable thing, like putting in the work. Obviously, if you're working a day job, you're then coming home and you're getting stuck in straight away with calls that you're not really giving yourself any free time. I imagine a few people that were listening to that were like, damn, that sounds heavy. That sounds like a lot.
Oh,
What
it's
was the motivation, or how did you motivate yourself to be like, okay, I am going to make sure I'm giving it my all, and like, yeah, I'm giving up, all my free time in the short term, the little that you had, to then go and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to buy it back in the future.
absolutely. I mean, for it was horrible. It was probably one of the worst like 2, 3 months of my life. I did nothing, or on top of the already little I was doing. But for me, it made complete sense. I mean, what was it? I give up 3 months, give this a go, and if it doesn't work, okay, I go back to the normal. If I don't do anything, I'm going to spend the next 10, 15 years doing the exact same thing. So is 2 to 3 months worth sacrificing for the chance to get to where I want to be, which is where I am now? Absolutely. Would I do it again? A million times out of a million. There's no part of me that regrets doing it. And I've never met anybody who has done it, committed to it, and went for it that regrets doing it. So I think it's ridiculous to not at least try it.
How do you feel about those 3 months now? Like, you said, they're the worst time of your life, but looking back, are you like, are they still the worst 3 months? Was it like, nah, actually, there was something enjoyable about them because you've seen I guess, the fruits of it on the other side?
Well, it's made me a lot more grateful for now. Because like at that time I wasn't going to the gym, wasn't doing anything. I was literally just working 9 a.m. to like 8 p.m., getting home and doing role plays till like 1, 2 in the morning every day. And that was it. And now obviously I can do what I want. So I'm really appreciative of those times. But looking back, would I ever go back to doing that? Absolutely not a chance. So it's looking back on it like that was hard, but I'm glad I did it.
And like, again, like circling back to the question, like the motivation, how did you keep motivated? Was this things you were saying to yourself, or the stuff you were doing to make sure, like, because I know like it's very easy when you zoom out and you see the bigger picture and you're thinking about the bigger picture. But I know day to day for like a lot of people, I had the same problem, like thinking I'm tired, I don't want to do it. It was difficult to motivate myself in that moment when I was coming back from work or whatever to do what I needed to do. And I imagine you had the same thing.
Yeah, of course. There was tons of difficult days where I'd be like, oh, I can't be bothered. I have like 3 role play scheduled. I cannot be bothered doing them. But then I'd think back to it and it'd be like, well, if I don't do it, I'm still gonna have to go to work tomorrow. I'm still gonna be tired, but I need to get paid, so I'm gonna need to go. And if I want to make this work, I'm gonna need to do this. So it's a case of not making it like, oh, I want to do this. It's a I need to do this. If I want to get to where I want to be, I need to do this. And in my mind, I framed it as a need rather than a want. And at that point, I was just doing them every day, no matter what.
Yeah, you just ingrained it. It's that, like, there was no other option, right? You just like, I'm going to do it. Nothing else
E-
matters. Lock in.
Exactly. Exactly.
So how long was it then from taking starting Club Closer and doing the role plays? Did you give it until you started looking for jobs?
Um, Not too long, to be honest. I think it was like 2, 3 weeks because in my mind, I was like, the only way I'm gonna get really, really good at this is by actually doing it. Like I was like, I can do all the role plays in the world, but until I actually experience what this is like, I'm not even gonna know if I enjoy this. So would I recommend doing that? Probably not, but I just went straight for it, just dived straight into outreach, landed an offer, and luckily it was a very good offer, and I got on well, very well with the offer owner, did well, made a good bit of money, and left my job. But yeah, I just dove straight into it and went all in basically.
So you started looking within 2, 3 weeks, and how long did it take you to land?
Just under a month, about 4 weeks.
Okay. And what were you doing? How was that going?
Just Instagram, sending videos, letting my personality out. I feel like the most important thing in outreach is showing that you're a human being because there's thousands of closers now. And the one problem that every offer owner probably sees is the DM is the exact same thing from all 800 applicants. Just send a video, get a bit of personality in there. And you'll see people like to shout out to Kyle. That man is the best at outreach. He is unreal. His videos, he gets constant responses, always on interviews, and usually gets the job too because he lets his personality out and he always lands offers through that. So you got to be personable and put yourself out there to these offer owners.
Did you know that out the gate, or did it take you like a while to then realize like I should have really been doing this from the start, or were you sending out those same messages as everyone else, and they were like, okay, actually now I need to start personalizing them, or switching up my outreach? Were you were you, were
Well,
you
my
analyzing the outreach and seeing what was happening, like the response rate, anything like that?
I sent a few like generic DMs, got no response. I was like, all right, that doesn't work. Let me try sending like a video of just me being myself, explaining the situation and wanting to jump on a call, and it worked. So I was like, all right, I'm only ever going to do this from now on. And yeah, much better success rate. Always get a reply at least, whether it's a let's jump on an interview or not. It's you always get a reply most of the time.
So I think it'd be really helpful just to, you don't have to role play one right now, but the outline of those videos, like what are you actually saying in those videos that made you stand out and made you consistently get replies? What was sort of the overall structure you went with?
I don't even think the structure was the main thing, to be honest. I think it was just like the energy and the way you say things. Because that video, although it might not seem as important because it's the first touch point, is a representation of how you're going to be on the calls. If you come across as shy, timid, and you're not really saying a lot, you're maybe not clear or whatever, the offer one's going to be thinking, I don't really want this guy taking hour-long Zoom calls. I can't understand him on a 2-minute video, and he's not really that energetic. So you need to be energetic, charismatic, and just have a bit of personality on the calls. And I feel like that'll get you much further than whatever you're saying on the actual video.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So you then sort of answered what my next question was going to be around, your first offer. You said, you got on with the guy, you made a bit of money there. How many offers have you been on? And what was a kind of transition from, oh, like, why did you even leave that offer in the first place? What was kind of the journey from the first offer to, the offers you're on now with net revenue?
So I've been on 3 or 4 offers total now. So I joined that first offer. I actually stayed on that for a long time, but his lead quality
And
died.
that
So I
wasn't
went,
with net revenue, right? That was
no, that
separate.
was just outreach, random guy I found on Instagram. And the lead quality slowed down, so I went part time, looked for another offer, found another offer. But then that offer came back. He fixed everything, got back. So I left the other offer, came back to that main offer, and now obviously I'm on net revenue. But the reason I left that offer was because I was getting too comfortable. I had a great conversation with Tom where I was just too comfortable. I was making like 7, 8K, which again was fantastic, amazing. I've made it. But for me, I always want more. So I was like, how can I do this? I need to get out of my comfort zone, leave this spot where I'm consistent and I can cruise basically. I didn't really have to put in much effort. I could just turn up. I didn't really need to go to the trainings, anything. I could just kind of get by. So I thought, how do I get to the next level? I need to join a company where I'm bottom of the barrel almost. Like these guys are way ahead of me. So I need to keep up, keep working and get to there. So for me, it was just a case of trying to evolve and get to that next level is why I moved on.
Okay. So I don't know. I think maybe this would be interesting to hear for a lot of the other guys, but how did you really know when to move on? Like, was there anything specifically you were looking at? Then, like, okay, obviously you're in a good position because you were making good money with it. But what sort of key things were you looking at to be like, okay, now I shouldn't stay because there's not the scope to grow? Were you speaking to the business owner? Were you asking him questions around the lead flow, around like the growth of the business, other closers maybe? What was sort of the thought process in that transition?
So for me, there probably was scope to grow, but it wasn't as fast as I was probably looking for. Like the guy's very analytical. He takes his time making decisions, as you would as a business owner, and he really took his time to decide what was the best next step, and whether that was me getting to 15K was probably 5, 6 months down the line. And for me, I don't want to wait. I felt like I was ready to kind of try and tackle that head on. So I was like, let me go find a company that lets me do that. But the one advice I'd give to everybody is if you're going to move on, be honest with the offer owner. Because that guy had so much respect for me just telling him. I jumped on a Zoom with him, explained what I was thinking, and he appreciated, got it. And then in the future, if I ever wanted to go back, I'm pretty sure I definitely could. So always keep your bridges open and don't burn bridges unnecessarily.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that last week actually, didn't we? That I think somebody, I
Yeah.
can't remember who asked it, but asked the question of like, when you get an offer, can you just leave? Like, what does that process look like? I don't want to like upset anyone. Like, is there a contract or anything? But I think you answered it perfectly. Like, just be honest and open and share what you're trying to get to. And if it doesn't align, it doesn't align.
Exactly.
How did we land the offer with net revenue? How did that go? Because I think that's obviously one of the partnerships we have inside Club Closer. That's going to be an opportunity that hopefully everybody here has that, gets that interview, is able to speak to them and potentially land an offer with them. And I know
That
some of you
one.
guys have already spoken to them and it's gone well, it's gone hasn't. What did you do?
That one's a bit of a funny one, to be honest. I would not go down this route to anybody in here, but so I went through the normal interview, got through the interview originally, then got offered. I said no because my other offer was taken off at that point. This was a few months ago. I said no and decided to stay with my offer. And then a few months down the line, I started following up with their sales manager, and he said, "Amazing, we're running a group interview." I just replied, "I'm not doing a group interview." I was like, "You either hire me or you don't." He said, "No problem. I love that." He was like, "Here's my calendar. Book in a time. We'll get you started on Monday." Booked in, and yeah, I started on that Monday, and that was it for me. No interview, no nothing. But
Why did you deny the group interview?
for me, I felt like I'm not the best at group interviews. I don't really like them. For me, and I've done one before. I knew what it was like. It's one question. I don't really feel like that's a good pursuit. The guy had seen tens or twenties of my closes. I knew he knew I was good enough for it, and I didn't really feel like I wanted to. So I thought, why not? Let's try this because I think with a culture at net revenue, I knew they'd respect it and I knew they'd appreciate that kind of thing. So I said, let's just do it and let's get started. That was it.
Interesting. So essentially what you're saying is you obviously got to know, maybe not necessarily the team, or maybe you did know the team, but you knew how that team operates and what they value, what they don't value from obviously the conversations, the networking you're doing, the research you did about them. And you knew that that was obviously, maybe you didn't think you'd land something if you went through the group interview and you not be able to show yourself properly, that was the better route. That's actually really interesting. Um, yeah, maybe not everyone go down the no group interview because I'm going to get a message and being like, why is nobody jumping on group interviews?
Yeah,
But no,
don't do
that's
that.
that's sick. That's awesome. What's next? What's the plan like moving forward?
Um, that's a tough question to be honest. I'm not sure. I just kind of go in and see what I want to. I want to get to 15, 20K a month and then possibly into sales management. I love helping guys get better and helping teams grow. So sales management, but I just want to go travel. Like I said, I'm way to Spain soon. So see what happens. Just go travel, enjoy life a bit more, spend my time as I have it and see what happens.
Sick, sick. Yeah, you've done incredibly well, and it's been cool to see. Um, yeah, guys, I think we'll just open it up and let you guys pin anything we've spoke about or anything totally different, any sort of sales questions, whatever. I know Jordan's very open to answering whatever within reason. Um,
Nah, anything.
there you go. So I don't know if everyone wants to shout out or
Yeah, can you hear me?
hands up. Yeah, Jed, you go first, bro.
Yeah, really, Jordan, really good speech, mate. Honestly, I respect your situation obviously quite a lot. So I feel like I'm in a similar situation now where you were originally, like making good money at my job, quite confident, comfortable there. So when you handed your notice in, how long did you have from when you started, when you finished to closing? Like, what was your in between period.
So do you mean in terms of like leaving my job and starting closing?
Yeah, did you have a week? Did you give yourself time, or did you get a Did you get a job and then hand your notice in? I have a month notice period with my job, and I'm obviously considering handing it in. And like, don't want to burn that bridge, as you said. I think it's a good
Hmm.
idea not to, just as a backup. But then, how do you go about that the right way as well?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I should have touched on this actually, but I did both. So I was closing while I was still in my job too. So I was working American hours, working all through the night, closing as well. And once I saw a taste of doing that part time and the money I could make, I went, absolutely no way am I doing both of these. Sack off the job and just go full time. But in terms of how to know when it's best to go for it, I mean, when you feel like your skills are at a certain level, like you feel confident in your role plays, your objection handling, your discovery, everything like that, and you find a good offer, like you find a nice vetted offer, it's looking good, you know some of the other closers are making good money, and you feel ready, why not go for it? Because if you don't go for it, then you're never going to go for it, right? So it's just knowing when you feel like it's the right time to go for it, I'd say.
So it's like biting the bullet and thinking, sometimes a bit of a leap, but you've got sort of a leap of faith in a way.
It's always going to be a jump going fully online, but you're going to have to make it at some point. So it's just being best prepared for that jump.
Cheers, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
No worries.
Jordan, bro, what was that kind of transition like from, going from car sales to high ticket? Was it kind of tough, or did you find it a little bit easier because you did have that sales experience, kind of, selling cars?
It was a little easier, I imagine, than like if you came from a random background. Like if you were stacking shelves in Tesco, I imagine that's a harder bridge to cross than coming from a sales background. But for me, the hardest part was not selling a physical product. Like when you're selling cars, it's very easy. They come for a car, they like a certain color, they like a certain model. You're already halfway done with the battle. Whereas with online, a lot of the time, the product doesn't really exist. Like it does, and it's a program and it teaches you something, but there's no physical evidence of it to show, which is something that I found difficult. But over time, it is something that you get a hold of and learn.
Mm. And how do you like distinguish between a good or a bad offer? Like, what are some kind of things that you look out for in distinguishing between a good and bad offer, man?
Um, it's pretty simple to be honest. The main thing is social proof. If there's a lot of testimonials, a lot of good results from the clients, obviously they're doing something right. And chances are as well is you'll find people who work for them as well. If it's a really good offer, you'll have people who openly say they work for them. Reach out to them, ask them, and if it's a good offer, they'll tell you, "Oh, I love working for these guys. It's amazing." Like if you reach out to any of the net rev guys, they'll tell you instantly how amazing it is. You can find them on Instagram. They've all got on their bios, everything. People are proud to work for them. So it's finding places where people enjoy working for it and are happy to tell you they work for it. But social proof is the most important thing. If you can find an offer with a bunch of testimonials, usually that's an extremely good sign.
Mm. All right, thank you, bro.
All good.
Hi mate, just wondering what like biggest challenges have been for you doing this and how you overcame them.
In terms of biggest challenges, for me, it's something I struggle with, which is a weird thing to struggle with, was actually pushing prospects far enough. For a while I was really struggling with, you get the objection, you get like two, and then it's very easy to kind of be like, okay, I don't want to get abrasive here or kind of be aggressive towards them. So letting them go and then being like, yeah, no worries, like I'll follow up with you tomorrow. Whereas at some point you got to push them. Like if you don't close them on the call, a lot of time you'll never close them again. So it was kind of getting my frame of mind right to understand that I've got to push people and kind of be all in on this. Because for a while I was kind of half arsing it. Like I was taking the easy lay down deals and thinking I was a top closer and thinking I was the man. But then eventually I realized that there's a lot more deals I was probably missing out on by just letting people away. So it's kind of committing to it and doing everything you can in every single call.
Yeah, sweet. I mean, like specifically with so I come from a sales background as well in like corporate sales, but like what specifically have you maybe struggled with in the change between that and remote closing?
In terms of the change, it wasn't too bad. How do you mean, like in regards to like the schedule, the work, or the sales itself?
No, not the schedule or the work, but just like the sales itself, or were they pretty similar to like was there anything that you really struggled with, or was it all pretty like smooth?
Um, I wouldn't say smooth. It was a lot of work, but the objections was a big thing. because the industry I came from, car sales, obviously, and objections usually could be like, I don't like the color, I don't like the miles, the age, whatever it is, and then you just find them a different car. Whereas with this, there's only one product. Like if you say you need to think about it because of the product, there's not really, do you want a different product? No, I only sell one. So it was adapting to that and understanding how to actually handle objections without having another product you can just put them into instead.
Okay, sweet mate. So objections. No, I appreciate it, bro.
Awesome, brother. No worries.
Jordan, my man, I'll shoot on to you, boy. What would you say your drive was, especially more, this is maybe more of a recent one for you, that's like stopped you from letting yourself be comfortable and sit at that 7 to 8K? Because you definitely could have done, man. So like, why do you want to shoot higher?
Yeah, interesting question.
Yeah.
I don't know, to be honest. I feel like for me, like I've always envisioned myself as I never want to settle for something because I feel like getting comfortable and settling is the biggest mistake you can possibly make because you're never going to go anywhere. So in my head, I was like, how can I always get better, put myself in a better position and reach that higher level? And I caught myself getting comfortable. A few people told me I was getting comfortable, and I was like, you know what, they're right. I need to change something here. So for me, it's just about always getting better because it's great making 7, 8, but how amazing would it be to make 14, 15, then 30, then 40, then 50? So it's just trying to always improve and get better because if I get comfortable, I'm only going to go backwards. So just always getting better, man.
Solid, mate. Love it. Love it.
Can I actually ask a follow up on that myself?
Of course.
What do you think would be enough, Jordan?
I
Like,
don't
when
think,
do you think you'll be like, okay, cool, I'm happy,
I don't think
I'm
that
done?
exists. I don't think there's ever enough. I think enough something we create as an excuse to say we're not happy where we are. I don't think you can ever say I'm happy. I'm exactly where I want to be. Like, there's always more people to help. There's always more money to make. There's always new things to do. So I don't ever want to say I have enough or say I'm comfortable. So I think that answers it.
Yeah, good answer. Great answer.
Jordan, I've been
Oh, sorry, you go, Kyle.
all good, bro, all good. I've been doing B2C now for the last couple of weeks, and I've just picked up the B2B offer, and I'm curious, like, what kind of, because I know it's very different. B2B is quite logistical, rather than B2C is quite emotional. How much emotion, kind of, if any, Aaron, should you use with B2B? Does that make sense?
I think you'd get a different answer from different B2B people. Like I've been doing my B2B, I've been doing pretty well with it. But the way I find is a lot. Because like for these guys, right? Obviously you have a B2C, their businesses themselves. The BAV guy, this is his whole life. Most of these guys started this business 10, 15 years ago, and they're all in on this. Like this is it for them. If this business fails, who knows what's gonna happen? And a lot of time you'll probably get more out of a B2B emotionally than you would out of B2C. Because when you remind them of all the sacrifices they've made, the money they've invested, and how far they've come, that might all fall apart, that's brutal. So I find with B2B, it's important to find the line because they are going to be very analytical as well. Because the product you're going to need to provide is obviously going to be more business tailored, so you got to help them in that sense. But the pain is very real and very, very emotional as well.
Okay, I got you. And like, would you ask different questions from B2C to B2B to get the emotion, or would the questions be similar?
Oh, of course they'll be slightly different, but it depends on who you're dealing with, to be honest. Because some business owners will come in and they'll be all about the numbers and not want to give you anything, and some will come in and be like, "Look, I need help."
Okay.
And it's knowing how to deal with those different type of prospects. But the questions will be the same in the end. Like if you can get them down, they'll be the same framework, the same idea, but they'll probably be worded slightly differently from B2B to B2C.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
Yes, Jordan, I was going to jump in. Like, looking back over the past sort of 5, 6 months, I relate a lot to what you're saying about always try to get out of the comfort zone and like grow and level up. And I was wondering if you, looking back, can think of anything that you implemented that specifically had like a effect on your closing rate. So for example, I did this and I saw my closing rate shoot up.
Yeah, there's one major thing. Fantastic question. Is I decided to say it myself. It's something we all say. We all say, "Oh, they're not getting off the call without saying yes or no." But it's like a little white lie we tell ourselves, where we say, "Yeah, they're never going to get off the call without saying yes or no." But then you come to the end, and then how did the call go? Ah, they're going to pay on Wednesday. What? Why are they going to pay on Wednesday? You just said they're going to get off without a yes or a no. And I said to myself, I was like, right, from now on, they are not getting off without a simple yes or no. And even if that's me going, right, you're either going to tell me yes or no. If you say you're going to tell me on tomorrow, I'm just not going to let you in the program, whatever it is. And from there, I found myself pushing people to the absolute limit where they deal or I'd get a no. And what that did was it allowed me to then clear my mind. I was on to the next call. I knew what had happened with that one. There was no, I might make a grand this week if that comes in. There's none of that. I know what's there. I know what's been paid, and I know what's going. So for me, it's just deciding, right, you're either going to buy or you're not. And either or is fine. But I'm going to know by the end of the call.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant advice. And yeah, something I'm definitely needing to start implementing because I'm leaving a lot of deals on the table as well.
But
Yeah.
it's easier said than done, right? How do you get
Oh,
over that discomfort of like, because I know people, it will get awkward. It will get a little bit like you're asking those difficult questions. How did you overcome that? You made that decision, which is great and brilliant advice, but how did you then implement it and make sure you stuck to it?
Yeah, 100%. And it is something that's difficult. I mean, some of you have seen my call recordings. They are uncomfortable. Like, I'm putting people in tough spots. And I'm in a tough spot too, because I'm staring at these people. But what I realized was for a lot of these guys, although it's uncomfortable in the moment, because the product I'm selling, I genuinely know it's going to help them. For me, it's worth it. Like, I'm happy to take you to an uncomfortable spot because I know I'm going to help change your life. And I know in like a year, 6 months, you're going to look back and go, thank God he made me uncomfortable. So I just said to myself, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to help this guy change. And the other thing for me is the way I look at these is like, yeah, it's serious, it's work, you get paid. But at the end of the day, the worst thing a prospect can do to you is tell you to fuck off and hang up the Zoom. Like that's it. They can't come through the screen and like beat you up or whatever. Like they're gonna tell you fuck off and hang up the Zoom. And that's it. So it's not that serious and you cannot ask uncomfortable questions. And that's the most important thing to realize.
George, so at what point do you stop pushing the lead? Because obviously I keep hearing that there's money in the follow-ups, and if you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you're eventually going to burn the lead, right? So at what point do you stop pushing them?
Of course, but I feel like I still have follow-ups, but my follow-ups are people who aren't in the position right now to go forward. Whether that's money-wise, business-wise, whatever it is. None of my follow-ups are people who are scared or uncertain to join because I've asked them the uncomfortable question and made sure that I've pushed them right to the end. And I feel like it's important to understand what is a follow-up and what's not. Like people who are in the wrong financial situation, no problem. Like I'll follow up with you in a few months. So it's knowing yourself. Like you'll know. Like when the prospect starts to get abrasive or aggressive, probably stop or maybe reframe or go for a different tone. But you'll know yourself based on the conversation and the way the call is going, to be honest. And there's no real way to determine other than prospect to prospect, I would say. But I'd be interested to hear your answer to that, Marcus.
I think I think you answered it perfectly by saying it's prospect to prospect. You can kind of tell when someone is getting like frustrated or annoyed with you, or you are potentially losing them. Um, obviously, I always like to look at it as like you're reeling someone in and you're getting them closer and closer and closer, and you can kind of, and I think it only can come with experience. You get that feeling, you have that emotional intelligence to be like, okay, I pushed a bit too hard here, and I can tell they're now, not enjoying this, and they're not going to close. If anything, if I keep pushing, they're probably not ever going to close in the future. But I don't know. My opinion would be those prospects probably wouldn't necessarily have closed in the first place anyway.
100%.
Cool, makes sense. Thanks, guys.
So, Jordan, bro, I've got a question. You said earlier that when you were doing all your role plays and stuff, you tried to jump on an offer like as soon as possible because you said that the only way you're going to get good at it is actually trying the sales side of things, or like doing it for real. So, what was it like changing from actually doing role plays to those first couple like real calls? Like, how different was it from what you'd like been doing in practice?
Oh, it was awful. It was awful. You jump on and you're like, "How you doing, mate?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm all right. Get to the point." And you're like, "What? Nobody in my role play's done this. What the fuck?" And you fucking shit. And that's just the way it goes. And it's something that happens quite a lot. But it was it was good because, like I say, once I got that and I understood that, then I got much, much better. So it was a big gap, but if you're doing everything in the role plays, when you have a good prospect come on, you'll do very well and you'll close them consistently. Because any good prospect I was getting, I was closing. But anybody who was maybe a little tougher, who had never heard anything like that in a role play, I was struggling with. So it's some prospects is a huge bridge, but some prospects is not a very big bridge at all. But for me, it was more so of like the way I've always learned best is just by doing stuff. Like anything I've ever done, I just do by doing. So for me, that was the only way I thought I would learn and get to the level I wanted to be at. So for me, it made the most sense. But doing role plays and getting to a good level can definitely get you in a good offer and get you closing that high percentage for sure.
But would you say it sort of knocked your confidence at all when you did make that shit like transition?
I think it could have, but I think it's the way you look at it. Because I always want to learn, I always want to get better. So when it happened, I was like, oh my God, I had no idea how to deal with that. That's amazing. How do I deal with that? I was like, let's figure that out. And then the next time the guy jumped on the call, I shot him down, reasserted frame, and closed him. So it's adapt because you can easily look at it like, oh my God, I'm so out of my depth. I've got no chance here. Like, let me give up. Or you can be like, how do I fix this and how do I actually close these guys? So although it was a little knock to the confidence, I maybe wasn't as good as I thought I was, it was a good challenge and got me to where I am now.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Jordan, let's get it, boy.
Big Andy, what's happening, brother?
Oh, what's happening, brother? Nice to see you. Sorry I'm late, man. I tried to get on earlier, but I was in a meeting.
Not good enough. Kicking Marcus.
What did I miss? What did I miss so far?
Not much, bro. We're just in a Q&A, so now you
Jordan's
got
dropping sauce.
I know, and I was trying to get like his secret sauce, and like now I'm like kind of bummed I've missed like the whole thing.
You gotta ask a question, Andrew. Big
So,
question.
how's your new offer? How's life?
Good, bro. Living life, enjoying life. That's the
Oh
way.
man, you're looking good, man. You're looking strong. You're looking
Thank
healthy.
you.
I like it.
Why was no one else saying this? Like, I wish you'd been in from the start, brother.
Yeah. Look, you're obviously a popular guy. You got quite a lot of crew here on the call, so you seem like quite the guy.
Yeah, I transferred every £10 beforehand, so we're good to
What, you also did that?
go.
Jordan, I'll shoot one thing on top of the, obviously like the shutting down on kind of the follow-ups going all the way. I suppose the one thing that breaks it for me a little bit, and this comes down to what Marcus did when he closed me, was I didn't actually close on the call with Marcus, but he did like a FOMO, I guess, kind of thing. And he basically did like the payment plan that would work for me. He said like, you can only use it like, I'll give you till the end of today. And that closed me, but I don't know. I suppose that's the only thing is like that tiny bit of outside of, but I don't know, maybe if like I had Jordan close, maybe you could have just broke me then and there and got me to close or not. I don't know.
Well, maybe he could have. We
Yeah.
got in a circle of just objection. I was like, I don't actually now know how to get out of this without putting some sort of pressure on a decision.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because I've seen your call, Charlie, and I've seen where you were. And at the time when I watched it, I was like, oh, wow, I'm surprised he even closed him. But now watching it, I probably would have either done two things. I would have either burnt you as a lead or closed you.
Yeah.
And that's because at the end, I probably would have just said to you, I would have went, listen, Charlie, we're going nowhere here. I'm going to give you two options, right? Yes, you can either change your life, let's get started, or no, you don't want to change your life, you want to stay where you are. That's the only two options I'm going to ask for you. Anything else, I'm taking as a no. Which one do you want to do, brother? And I would have just stuck it on you. And whether you would have said no or would have said yes, it would have given me clarity and I could have moved on to my next call. But you don't get a lot of prospects like you, Charlie.
That's what I mean, man. I feel like I'm using it as like an anomaly, right? So I just don't think it's something to actually like compared to the majority, right?
Yeah, but it's interesting because there will be prospects like you. Like they do exist. So it's important. But it is something where I probably would have challenged you. I would have just challenged you on it and asked you to make a decision, whether that be yes or whether that be no.
Yeah. Because basically, like, I know why it happened. Because I think Marcus, I was actually an easy close. What it was is I just said to myself beforehand, Marcus is literally selling a sales course. I don't want to let a sales guy close me because he's going to be good at sales. So that was basically like my thought process. But yeah, no, I think you're right.
You definitely I've taken a lot of sales calls and you still leave. Like, not everyone's going to be perfect. And that's why it is important just to analyze the calls. And I knew that call wasn't perfect with you. I still don't know necessarily what would have worked if I did anything differently, but there's
Yeah.
definitely things to analyze within that call that, like, had I approached it this way, that way, like maybe there would have been a different outcome.
100%, man. Yeah.
I got a question for you, Jordan. If no one's jumping up, how do you approach follow-ups personally? Because obviously, I feel like a lot of guys when they first start, you're gonna get more follow-ups than obviously when you're more of a veteran to the space, when you've taken more calls. You can take your closing rate from 20-30% and you can bump up to 50. Obviously, if you started at 50, there's a lot more closes. How are you handling the follow-ups? What's your approach to them?
The same way I handle my closes, very personable. I phone, I don't send emails, I don't send texts. I feel like an email or a text is too easy to see, not open, and know that you're never gonna have to respond. Whereas if I phone you and you answer, it's very hard to just ignore me and patch me. So I feel like it's just important to stay in contact, and it's a lot more effort, obviously phoning every follow-up, but it definitely pays, and it definitely has helped me close a lot of deals by being active and just dialing all my follow-ups consistently.
But then what's your approach to those calls? Are you like, I'm going to try and close them on this phone call? Are you pushing a follow-up call? Are you pushing some form of decision on that phone call?
No, it's the same. I actually got it from car sales, where in car sales, the idea was just to touch base because you want to be fresh in their memory. Because if the person's on the call and it's not the right time to buy, in 6 months, 12 months, 9 months, it might be the right time to buy. So you want to be the first guy they think of when it is time to buy. So even if it's just phoning, being like, how are things going? How's the wife? How's the kids? Whatever. And just staying in touch. And then at the end, be like, how are things? And then they're like, good. And they're like, I was actually thinking about you. And then you're like, well, you want to jump on a follow-up call and maybe we'll see if we can get started. And it's just probing. I go into the calls with no intention but to touch base and reintroduce myself and put myself fresh in the mind, basically. Because I feel like if you go into these calls expecting to close them on a phone call, you're never going to. You're never going to get them on a follow-up call and you're never going to deal with them. But if you just go to touch base and get to know them, then amazing. You've generated some extra income doing nothing, basically. So have no expectations and then it's a much bigger reward, I'd say.
Jordan, how you doing? I wanted to ask you, you've done obviously a lot of role plays. What was it that, having got a lot of sales experience beforehand, what was it you were really focusing on in those to really get the value out of them and not necessarily start from scratch?
In terms of the role plays, I feel like every role play was different. Every single role play is valuable. Everything gave me something new. Well, even when I do role plays now with newer guys, that I learn something every time because they'll say something or give me an answer I've not heard before, and then it's like, oh shit, how would I answer that, or how would I respond to that? And then when I get in a real call, I'm already ready for it. But in terms of focusing on, I feel like it's important to focus on each individual section. Like, don't do a full role play. Do discovery, get good at that, then do pitch, get good at that, then do objections, get good at that, and then put them all together and then keep each one sharp. But for me, the biggest struggle was discovery because in car sales, there's no discovery. You like the car, it's a nice color, amazing. Here's the price. Do you like it? No. Okay. Handle the price objection. And that's it. There's no discovery, nothing like that. So for me, it was focusing on discovery for a good long while.
Legend, mate. Thank you for that.
No worries, boss.
Jordan, brother, obviously you've been doing very well with high ticket over the last couple of months. You got to a good point where you're making 8 to 10K a month at the moment. What's kind of one thing you learned, good or bad, from that experience of getting up to that point that maybe somebody newer coming into the high ticket space wouldn't quite know about just yet, but you learned that as you were kind of scaling to that point where you are making good money from it?
Do you mean in terms of in the high ticket space or like the money side?
High ticket space, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So in terms of the high ticket space, the worst thing about it is once you get to those heights, it's very easy to get disheartened. Like I'm pretty sure everyone who's closing on an offer here will have this. Like you have a week where you make like two, maybe even like 1K. And it's a huge week. And I see Charlie smiling and he knows this. Is you have like your greatest week ever. And then what you do is you go on your phone and you go, oh, amazing. I've just made what? 1.2K this week. What's that times four? Sick. I'm gonna make 5K this month. And then the next week you sell nothing. You make nothing. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm done for. So it's not getting in the mind of this is going to be every week. It's understanding that it can be inconsistent, but not to get disheartened easily is you gotta just keep at it, treat every week like a new week, and forget about the last week. Doesn't matter if it's a huge, yeah, it does exactly like Alex just says. It doesn't matter if you've had the highest of high week or the lowest of low week. The next week is a new week. Forget about last week and just wait till you get paid at the end of the month. Because I did it all the time. I'd make 2K in one week, be like, I'm the man. The next week I'd make nothing. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm fucked. So it's just staying consistent and staying in the right headspace is the most important thing.
Okay, thank you, brother.
Jordan, I've got a question if you got the time.
Of course, brother.
On your first offer that you were selling and as a closer, did you feel nervous? And if so, how did you get yourself to stop shitting bricks and just lock in and
What a
get
question. And this is gonna give you this is the most Scottish answer ever. I remember I had my first call booked in. This guy was such a good lead. I was absolutely breaking it. The offer owner was like, oh, first call, walk in the park, brother, no problem. I took about 3 swigs of Jack Daniels before I sat down for the call, and I was cool. I was right as rain, brother. So don't do that, but that's what I personally did before my first call, and that set me up for success.
Have you got
That
any
was not the answer I was
encourage
expecting.
people?
Nah, but that's the truth. That's the truth. Is that's how I got ready for my first call. And then I was like, all right, from now on, I'm not doing that again.
Okay. You should have done that, Marcus, on your call with Charlie.
Maybe I'd have gone around Charlie's house and I'd have given him a few sips.
I could have done the job, mate. I'm a bit of a lightweight, mate. So
Yo, Jordan, it's Zane. I've not got my camera on because I'm driving and I'm just distracting everyone from the meeting, so I just thought I'd turn it off. But yeah, quick question. Because you've been on quite a few offers, I was just wondering what has been your like favorite offer to work on, money aside. So forget how much you've been able to make from that offer, but calls, prospects, style, like what's been the favorite thing your favorite thing to sell since you entered the space?
To be honest, I'm not. I don't know if you'll agree with this one. Obviously, we're on the same offer.
I'm afraid.
I love the Andrew Tate offer.
I
That is
fucking
my
I
ideal
knew you were
offer.
gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that. All right, cool. All right, sweet. Well, then why out of interest?
For me, it's just like I can do what I want basically. I can sell like I want to. There's no worries. If I don't make a close, I don't sell somebody because I push them too far. It's $850. It's not the end of the world. I'll move on to the next call and I'm happy as Larry. And it just allows me to use everything I've learned and just go for it. Like I'm just closing people. I have 13-minute closes, 10-minute closes. It's literally just you've got half an hour, close this guy, get the payment done, and get off the call. And it's just constant. Well, not right now, obviously, but usually it's constant, and we're making decent money. So I love the Andrew Tate offer personally, Zane.
No, I would not disagree with you, by the way. I think the reason I asked is because it's so much fun. So I was like, let me take this opportunity to ask if there's been something even more fun. But yeah, I agree. Like it's for all of the training that we've done with Club Closer, it's now it's like a free for all. All right. Thanks for answering the question, bro.
No worries, mate.
Do you think that you guys love that Andrew Tate offer so much because the marketing is there in terms of like he's such a big personality that you're getting people on the call that are very knowledgeable already on him as an individual?
A little bit. Part of it as well is I feel like it's very easy to like be as a high ticket closer is meant to be. Like when you try and assert authority on those calls, they instantly fold because they know you're with Andrew Tate's team and they already view you. Before they get on the call, you're already here and in their mind, they're there. So there's no frame, there's no authority having to be taken because you're already, in their mind, the man when I'm just some random guy sitting in Aberdeen. But they don't know that. They think I'm in Romania, like living with them for some reason. But yeah, I just love it because you're in complete control and the calls are literally however you want them to go. So that's
Yeah, I would agree. Like I would say that they're a tiny bit less of a straight layup than people would expect. Like people do throw random shit at you that you would not expect. But I think the thing that is so enjoyable about them is what Jordan said. It's the freedom. Like I, for my first week, I took my calls in a suit. But if I wanted to take my calls next week, like topless with a cigar in my mouth, that would work just as well. And so there's a certain amount of freedom and theater to these calls that is just like undeniably enjoyable.
100%.
Yo, Jordan, on the Andrew Tate offer, do guys or do prospects ever ask you like if you know him personally, or if you hang out with him, like stuff like that, where they kind of like ask you if you actually with his crew type
Of
of thing?
course.
What do you say?
I just say I can't say, Zooms are recorded. The Matrix.
Because Kyle and myself, who's on the thing now on the chat, we work for like someone who's like at the moment on an offer that's quite well known. They sometimes ask us questions like, do we trade with him? Do we like kind of associate with him and stuff? So I was just interested to know like what you do for.
I mean, my position on it is always obviously I work for him. And it's with the way I do my frame. I mean, if any of you have seen my calls, the way I do my frame is this is an interview. So I'm kind of your access to, for me, Andrew Tate, or for you guys, Mamba. So with that, they don't really ask it because they see you as like the gatekeeper to where they want to be and the guy they want to speak to. So you instantly have that respect earned, and there's not really, who are you?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just framing it correctly, I think, is the most important part to bypassing that all the time.
All right, thanks, mate.
No worries, bro.
Jordan, how's it going?
Not bad, mate. What's happening?
So I'd like to know how you adjusted to holding yourself accountable when you left car sales, because obviously car sales, you've got different levels of management, different departments like finance that you have to report to. It sounds like when you went on your first offer, it was a small team, or if not just you. How did you keep yourself accountable when things weren't going good and you were starting to doubt yourself? Because obviously in car sales, you can just pick up the phone and phone people, but it's a bit different when you're new in an offer and it's a totally new space as well.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a fake background, by the way. I didn't know you were in the actual dealership.
I love the fact you're taking it from a dealership. You're speaking to the right person to ask that question.
But yeah, in terms, because you know what it's like in car dealerships. We've talked about this before, where like as long as you sell your bare minimum, nobody says anything.
That's it.
Like nobody cares as long as you hit your bare minimum. It's all good. Like you're the man. Let's all go out at the weekend, drink, and pretend like we're rich when we're making like 3K a month, because that's just the way it is. And it was difficult, but I think for me, it just all made sense because I was like, how badly do I want this? So badly. So I'm just going to keep myself as accountable as possible. Because anytime I didn't do what I said I was going to do, I was like, well, I clearly don't want it that badly. So I need to keep at it and keep myself accountable. So it's just using your goals as almost a ransom to doing what you need to get there.
Did you implement anything where you were looking at this stuff daily? Like, was there anything specifically that worked for you in that sense?
I was never a big guy for being like organized and having schedules, but just setting out my daily tasks and being like, I have to do this every day. I have to do these certain tasks every single day. And until they're done, the day is not over, kind of thing. And for me, that changed everything. And then I got everything done and got consistent. And eventually I just made a routine out of it.
Nice.
Ikra, what's going on, brother?
Hey man, how's it going?
Not
Long
bad,
time no
boss.
see.
I know. What's happening?
You know so the interview. I mean, like the Andrew Tate offer. It sounds interesting, but I'm just curious. What was the interview process like? Was he like very strict or?
So it's with net revenue. So net revenue placed me on that offer.
Oh right, okay. Was it like very strict in the interview process?
So there wasn't, like, they just place you on an offer. Like I was already in net revenue. I was hired for a B2B, but there was extra calls on the Andrew Tate offer that they needed help with. So they said, do you want to take some calls? I said, of course I will take more calls, more money. So give me calls. And I went on it and started closing for it.
Yo, Jordan, can I give the guys a tiny bit of context on this? Because it's a pretty crazy story. So like
absolutely go for it.
So like I'll be super quick. They trained three people to be on the offer. It was myself, someone else, and someone else. They thought that we were going to be, it's 30-minute calls, but all three of us had our diaries open for at least 12 hours a day. They thought that we would be good, like we could cover about a week. And they opened up the offer, they sent out the booking link, and the three guys' diaries were full in, when I say under 20 seconds, it was under 20 seconds. and it was so desperate that they had to reach out to people like Jordan and other people to bring them in. So the volume on that offer is the most insane thing that I could have ever imagined.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so that's where Jordan came in and started smashing it instantly. More so than some of the guys who had been trained for 2 weeks to work on the offer. So Jordan's a killer. Like, that's certified.
That's great. That's sick, man. Wow.
Jordan, you keep on talking about these call recordings. Where can I see one, mate?
I got you. I'll send you some call recordings after, Dylan. I got you, brother. Don't worry.
I want to see you batter people.
I got you. Don't worry.
Yeah, bro, can I make that request as well? Kind of want to see it now.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll send you some good Andrew Tate recordings.
Nice.
Sound.
Appreciate it.
What is it? Sorry. Yeah, oh yeah, Jordan. Do you do that sign as well? Yeah, in the call.
No, I've not got to that level just yet. That's something in Romania chilling, but not yet.
Yeah. Nice.
Yo, Jordan, just one more question. Like, I know Marcus asked you earlier, like, when is it enough? And I know I respect your answer a lot. Like, there's not really an enough. But I was wondering if you had started to think about what might be next. Like, if there is a next outside of high ticket closing, if it's like running a business, if you want to just retire insanely young, like, do you think about that yet, or is it too early for you?
It's never too early. I mean, I think it would have been very easy at my age, especially, to just be like, "Oh, I've made it. I'll worry about that in a few years." So I don't think there's ever, like I said, enough. But for me, the long-term goal is just make as much money as humanly possible, get as successful as humanly possible, and see how far I can take it. Because I'm only 21. I turned 21 last month, so I got plenty of time, plenty of future ahead of me. So why not see how far I can take this thing and see where we can go, whether that be a business, whether that be my own offer, whatever it be. But we'll see.
Really great attitude to have, for sure, man. And yeah, thank you for coming on, because I think the guy's got a lot of value. Was there any other questions?
I'll ask a quick one before we go.
I've got one as well.
Yeah, go for it. All right, go for it, boys.
So, is there anything looking back that you've done getting into this space that you wouldn't have done? Like any mistakes, not things that have worked out, but is there things where you went, "Oh, I wouldn't have done that again"?
Yeah, probably like joining Club Closer. Nah, I'm only joking. To be honest, no. I think the reason I got to where I am is because I did it the way I did it. Like I took a bad offer part time along with my other offer, and it didn't go well, and that kind of taught me a lesson. So no, I think the way I did things, I wouldn't have changed anything. Like working all night doing role plays, constantly on sales calls, working full time while doing it too. I think it was the perfect storm because it gave me that drive to get out of this and change my life. So the way I did it, I wouldn't change anything, but is there probably a better way to do it? Absolutely. If you have full time to do this, absolutely a better way to do it. But for me, the way I did it was the only kind of way I could do it.
Nice.
I understand that you're on two offers at the minute. Like how does that work with like transitioning? Say you sell for one offer in the morning, one offer at night. How do you feel like jumping between selling different things?
My process doesn't really change a lot. I feel like for me, I sell one way very consistently. Whatever offer I'm on, I could jump on any offer and I'll sell the same way. My framework's going to be the same. Every call I've ever taken is really the same. They all have pain, they all have a desire, and they all have a product that I have that they want to buy. And the only thing that changes every call is the pitch for me. That's the main thing that changes. Other than that, everything else stays very much the same.
Nice, nice. So pretty seamless then.
Sometimes.
Cheers.
No worries, boss.
Jordan, bro, massive thank you for jumping on. I gained a lot of value from that, so I'm sure everyone else here did too. Yeah, your story's sick, and I don't think. Yeah, I guess Daniel's question there, like, not everyone's journey is going to be the same. Like, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to mess up. Like, those are things that you're going to learn from most. So it is important to not sort of wait for the perfect timing, the perfect this, the perfect that, and just get stuck in, make those mistakes and learn from them. Yeah, your first call is going to be shit. That's no secret. And And yeah, I mean, Jordan's a prime example that if you do just stay at it and you commit to it, then yeah, that's the results you can get. And obviously the other ones on this call that are doing the same.
100%.
Well, sweet guys. Well, yeah, we'll wrap the call up there. As Dylan said here, brutal work ethic. Pay for cognitive high ticket sales. Big compliment that.
Yeah, I know. I'll take
All right, guys. Yeah, I'd take that for sure. Well, look, thanks so much, Jordan. Appreciate everyone jumping on as well. And yeah, any other questions you have, feel free to just drop me a message this week. And I'll see you next week.
Peace, lads.
See you
Till it,
later.
bro.
Cheers,
Take
guys.
care,
Cheers, Jordan.